We were walking along the beach.
A man stands facing the sea with his back to us.
We were walking with the sea on our right. There was me walking with my cane. Turned right and walked towards the sea, and I just listened to the sea going.
His white cane moves along the sand until it touches water.
And just stood there, very close to the breakwater. I've always loved the sea. It's always suggested freedom.
On a black screen in the bottom right corner, In the Lantern Room appears in thin white letters. A door opens, casting light into a dark, narrow space. Two young men enter, viewed from above.
The lighthouse door creaked open and I stepped inside. I looked up the kind of central beam and there was this spiral staircase orbiting it, and it took you eventually to the lantern room. Hello. And that brought me all the way back to the very origins of the show, really. My name is Jack Norris, and I'm the writer, co-facilitator of this project.
He smiles.
The idea came when I was training with my mate Camille back in 2018 at drama school, and I think we were having a really wholesome discussion about friendship.
Yeah, so my name is Camille Piotretsky. I'm the assistant co-facilitator for the project, and I've been involved since the start. Yeah, so the idea started from me and Jack just speaking about these two characters and portraying the story, this human connection between these two characters. And then it was eventually we started speaking about this feeling of home. What happens when you go back home and your home is not your home anymore? And then Jack took it to Zuko, and he kind of evolved it from an initial concept, a chat that we had, into a way bigger idea.
From there, the first R&D took shape. It culminated in the sharing at Jackson's Lane of a different version of this story called Memories of the Marshland, which revolved all around this old mansion where this blind character, Ava, this teenager, encountered Evelyn.
Hi, my name's Ellie Woolwork. I'm a visually impaired actor, and I've been playing Ava in the research and development weeks for Memories of the Marshland and To Those Islanders.
In the car, I'll just, could you give me oh yes, of course, I'll just grab your arm there.
Memories of the Marshland really taught me how to move accessibly. I'd never really had much experience with physical theatre. It was something that kind of made me quite anxious. So to be able to work in a space where it was accessible to me and where I was able to move was so transformative. I genuinely think it changed my artistic process and made me so much more confident.
They enter a house.
In rehearsal, Ellie links arms with a woman. Two others hold up chairs.
Hello, my name is Yusuf. I was one of the performers in the R&D of To Those Islanders, and I was first involved during the first round of R&D when it all started under the name of Memories of the Marshland in 2024.
They step out and form a line, hold their rifles. They look up and down. They take aim. They jerk, recoiling from invisible bullets.
And I think the discovery we made was we absolutely can integrate physical theatre into a play that features a blind teenage protagonist. And we discovered how we could stage this play and try to self-inform and try to invent and try to establish access practices and creative practices in the room as we went.
They carry a spotlight for Ava as she walks around and through the doorways.
I think the main takeaways was we wanted something more specific and more rooted in real history. And it was all because we were kind of thinking about places and times where the idea of home has been challenged or changed. There was kind of an awareness that there was a version of this story that could exist that doesn't currently exist. So I built a second draft of Memories of the Marshland, and I put out a call asking if there were any producers around who could help me realise that story. Enter Jack B.
Yeah, we are going to present a kind of a mix of both. My name is Jack Byron. I am the producer and the co-facilitator for To Those Islanders. For me at least, it began in March 2025. I met Jack in a pub in North London and we spoke about the project. The project works in 3 phases. Phase 1, which was a research trip to Jersey.
The group on a boat.
Phase 2, a design R&D in London at Arts Depot. And phase 3, a second R&D with a sharing, which took place at Scrum Studios in Hammersmith. 2 to 3 months later, we submitted an application with Arts Council England, and the project really kind of kicked off in September 2025.
I actually got an email from the Arts Council saying that a funding decision has been made, and I was so nervous, and I went to log on and it was down. And I was like, Jack, what? And he was like, yeah, like Grand Team's down for like a week. So I remember this really like stressful, painful week, and I was at the pub with you, and I thought, I'll just give it a check. And it went through, and it was good news, and we knew that the next stop would be Jersey.
Mobile footage from an aeroplane window as it takes off. Green fields, then the sea flash below.
So it's the 16th of September, and we're on our way to Jersey. Woo!
How did you arrive at Jersey as the setting?
And it was all because we were kind of thinking about places and times in British history, a time where the idea of home has been challenged. And I remember seeing this picture of like a Boots pharmacy, I think next to a W.H. Smith, with all these soldiers in black leather uniforms marching down the street from the occupation of Jersey. Naturalism, real history, met something deeply surreal. So that's why we landed on Jersey.
The first week in Jersey involved myself, Jack Norris, the writer, Dominic Roocroft, the composer, Noah Cox, the filmmaker, and of course, Yusuf.
Hello, I'm Yusuf Osman. I am the historical consultant and access coordinator on the project To Those Islanders. One of the big things that has really kind of got my attention and got my interest going is the difference between, or the dichotomy between historical accuracy and creative ambiguity. So as somebody who's got a PhD in history, I'm constantly going, let's make it as accurate as possible.
Even though this is a historical adaptation and very much a work of fiction, that fiction has to dance on top of real history and real stories. So that historical due diligence, that felt important. So that looked like speaking to historians such as Chris from Jersey Heritage, Mike from Jersey War Tunnels, and Sue, who conducted tours of the Corbière Lighthouse for 30 years, and speaking to the islanders who actually lived through the occupation was massive in every way.
Hopefully been some help anyway.
Immense help.
And obviously have enriched the project in every single area, just because they are the experiences and stories that we're looking to kind of capture.
Do not speak to Germans.
An older local man.
So we didn't. The islanders, mums and dads, parents, were very protective, and therefore they didn't want you to mix with Germans in case.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you don't understand that they were people who were humans like us. But a lot of them were conscripted, didn't want to be fighting, had families at home. It's only later that you understand that.
I was 9 when the Germans came. When you were 12, it was compulsory to learn the German language. That was compulsory. And then there was a curfew at 10 o'clock at night. And all lights had to be out. And if they weren't, there'd be a bang at the window with Lichthaus, they would say, you know, Lichthaus.
Lichthaus?
Yeah, that's light out.
Lights out.
They would say, yeah, Lichthaus.
We had one young soldier that used to, Mum reckoned he was only about 15, 16, and when he used to pass our gate quite frequently, this is the beginning of the war, and he used to make all sorts of funny faces and things and all that, and we used to we called him Georgie Porgy in the end, but all of a sudden he went and we didn't see him anymore, so I don't know what happened to him. No, never saw him again.
The history of Jersey and the lived experience of people there is complex. It's not there's not a simple narrative through it. There's lots of different experiences, and that's one of the things that I think I was very drawn to as a producer and as a creative, was the kind of rich layers of different experiences on the island.
Jack Norris.
We saw this monument, this lighthouse memorial with a plaque on it that said, "To those islanders who never returned." And I remember us all crowding around this memorial, Googling the history of it, and we realised it had come from St Catherine's Breakwater Pier. That's where it was originally. So we were like, we have to get there now. And we got in this taxi and we drove about a half an hour drive in this taxi, and we're all exhausted, and we pull up at this pier that just stretched on and on and on for miles into this singular point, and we sat down and had a chat about it.
Dom with a microphone.
As a writer, feeling that we've kind of been to St Helier and been through all of the things that's on TripAdvisor, you know, things to do, and it's being here in this unmarked location that I felt closest to the show.
Yeah. The tall, exposed structure at the pier.
It blows my mind a little bit that there's nothing here. To remember that lighthouse. To commemorate something, do you leave it the way it is and acknowledge that suffering is still alive and raw in that place, or do you try and repair what's been lost?
Lapping waves.
What's at the edge of that rock?
What, down the crazy down from the castle?
Is it a castle?
I think it's a castle. Is that the other one?
That was the other one that we were told was a medieval castle.
The castle we went to earlier, it was a composite of different eras. There was it a Georgian hospital?
Yeah.
Obviously a kind of late medieval structure for the main castle.
Yeah.
And there were German artillery bunkers built into it.
Yeah.
So it made it quite this interesting location of just different time periods.
Yeah.
Different aesthetics bleeding into each other.
You're living on a fortress, something that is made to withstand
a battle.
Yeah, an enormous battle.
Which never came, of course.
Yeah.
Bit Samuel Beckett, just never, you stockpile, prepare.
Yeah.
And it never came.
The group sitting on the pier.
Time?
5:30.
All right. Should we make a move back?
I think we should.
Cut.
The four of them get up and leave.
What do we do with this?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Jack Byron films the sea below from the pier.
Just let this kind of thing happen.
Calm blue water.
Reeling from that emotional experience of being on the pier, we knew then it was time to go to our meeting with Sue. That was our first glimpse of the Corbière lighthouse, which we knew we were going to the next morning.
A white lighthouse on a rock at sunset. The group trudge up stone steps towards the lighthouse. The door opens, flooding light into the darkness. Jack Norris and Jack Byron, young men in their 20s, enter the same lighthouse as earlier, the view still cast from above. A yellow metal pole runs through the centre. They bend their necks up to look. A dark grated staircase with a brass handrail curves around on the right. We follow them up these narrow stairs into the top of the lighthouse, known as the Lantern Room. Dominic, another young man, joins them wearing headphones and holding a mic. Inside the lantern room, their reflections appear in the glass of the main light.
So obviously the red sector's here, as you can see.
The light filament distorts through the ridged glass. A long walkway cutting through the sea, surrounded by rocks on both sides. Light shimmers across the water.
My name is Dom Roocroft, and I am the composer and sound designer for To Those Islanders. So I arrived in Jersey with the team and tried to basically capture the essence and the ambience of Jersey that no kind of sample library could replicate. It was something we wanted to just get bespoke recordings that felt like as connected to the story as possible. And now I've got this huge Jersey audio package, essentially, which I'm going to use in the show. Yeah, it was a very tiring few days of learning what sounds good, how can we manipulate those sounds and turn it into this really evocative soundscape.
My name is Noah Cox, and I am the filmmaker for the project. My job in Jersey was not only to gather footage for the documentary that you're watching at the moment, but also to capture as many of the images and textures of Jersey as I could, because it would make the perfect reference material in all of the stages of the project moving forward. Jersey's a very beautiful place. It's got stunning landscapes and it's got such a rich history behind it in so many of the different structures we visited. It was a pleasure to capture it.
And then on the final night of Jersey, after 10 million miles of walking for poor Noah, and trying to hold all the information, we sat in the Premier Inn and just tried our best to consolidate and just capture as much of those thoughts as possible.
It feels like we've, at points, discovered a kind of bedrock of vast information and vast experience. I think there's been a lot of photos and footage that we have taken and captured, and audio that we've captured as well. So at least in terms of the next part of this project and the 2 weeks of development time that we do have, particularly in the design R&D, I think that one's going to be heavily informed by this week.
On the first full day that we were here, we took a little stroll along the beach.
Yusuf.
We were walking with the sea on our right. Yeah, that was... I've always loved the sea. It's always suggested freedom. So I always love standing there and listening to it.
We didn't notice it getting darker and darker as we filmed.
Jack had a very clear idea about the geography of Ava's journey. Down this long stretch of beach where this lighthouse was waiting, and the lighthouse at the end of it was not what you'd picture a stereotypical lighthouse to be. It was very bare bones. It was very exposed to the elements. It very much wasn't the kind of structure we were after for the purposes of the show. So it kind of raised the question, could we cheat it in the interest of fiction, or should we stay accurate to what is physically there? And that's the discussion we've been having a lot over the course of the week of where can we draw the line between giving ourselves artistic license whilst also doing justice to the kind of very real places we've been and the real people we've spoken to and the real experiences we've heard.
We didn't notice it until the one lamp we had finally died.
Right over. I was there. There's the lights.
Wow.
Noah now in darkness.
It's fine, because I'd finished answering anyway.
The lights fade completely.
Returning from Jersey after a bit of writing time, it was then time to embark on phase 2, which was a design... I can't do that. Yeah, so returning from Jersey... Oh, no. It's not even funny.
Trying to get one sentence
It's not even funny. After the Jersey research trip, after a bit of writing time, it was then time to embark on phase 2 with Stella, Nat, Yusuf, Ellie, Camille, Jack, and myself. Our key focus in that time was to really start to question what's a soundscape like in that world? What is the set of the show? And also has to be accessible as well to the performers that we're working with. How do you create a space that can hold all of that? The process of those 5 days was really a kind of rigorous exploration using materials that Nat was leading us through.
So we can kind of share the moments that we've been looking at with you and get all of your thoughts on that. I had a okay.
My name's Nat and I'm the director on this project. The play has like a really rich visual scope, and it's like a real provocation to the creative team to realise something that is accessible and truthful, and it's a real kind of opportunity to go like, how are we telling this story? How are we reaching our deaf and visually impaired audiences, and how are we bringing them into that world?
And then to your left you've got
Nat guides Ellie around a dimly lit space. Panels of white transparent gauze hang from the ceiling.
I think that design R&D was important because you needed to get a feeling for the show. We needed to know what it was going to look like in terms of the set, the props, and how all the material just plays with each other, what we can do with the material.
Yeah, so I'm Stella. I'm the setting costume designer on the project. Since the story is centered around a lighthouse, as a set designer, I was very interested in how we create this lighthouse on stage, what it symbolizes, how much of it do we see, how much of it do we experience. We played around with these like silvery tinfoil looking blankets, and they provided a lot of really interesting reflections.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So what's happened now is, as you've lifted it up, the material has reflected lots of patterns, kind of wiggly and straight lines all over the floor, which is really beautiful.
Water makes a really specific type of reflection on surfaces. The light bounces off the surface of the water, and there's a similar pattern that's on the ceiling right now.
And we were playing around with walking on top of them. What kind of sound does that make?
Creates like a great crunch and great kind of friction.
Feet slowly walking over tin foil.
As you're walking down that, or as Ava's walking down that, it makes quite a lot of noise. Right. If you went off course, you'd walk off it and the noise would stop. So you'd know you were going in the wrong direction, so you'd immediately correct it and come back onto it to carry on walking.
That is true.
So, I don't know.
And I think that was a really beautiful exploration of just a simple material and how it managed to bring like a really clear, a visceral image through sound and through like textural storytelling to create an experience, a shared experience in the audience that kind of reaches everyone.
That was a great opportunity for us to actually start thinking about what kind of materials can we play with.
Ridged glass panels reflect light.
Story is driven, by text and by imagery. But really, I think one of the keys to trying to understand the story more is to see how touch and the sensory world actually kind of design the story.
Do you know what it is? It's like we had this conversation in Jersey in a taxi in Jersey, and I think that the window was rolled down, and I stuck my hand out the window, and I was feeling like the breeze hitting my palm, and just something about the feeling of that and the sensitivity of that, and what if that we were somehow able to manage to like break the logic of that, and that took over into some other kind of unnatural place.
Jack's hand surfs the air out of the taxi window.
Yeah, no, I think that might be an interesting idea to kind of bring into the room and see how we can apply it with this.
Yusuf.
We were doing scenes out of the taxi window, and we were, try having your hand in this position or in that position. Let's try with some plastic underneath. Let's try with some fabric underneath. And I think I came into it with, let's do it and get it perfect. And I kind of learned, well, actually, we're just going to see what different things are and how different things work. And something I've learned is that it's okay to try lots of things out and wait as things change and for 96% of them not to work before kind of looking for an answer and something that's then set in stone.
That led on to the next conversation about the fact that for the November R&D, we really wanted some access support workers in the space. So in order to do that, we decided that we wanted to develop a kind of group or a bank of people for the project who were known to the project that Yusuf had the opportunity to meet and train. So that's when at Scrum we ran a visual impairment awareness training day.
Issue of blind people in 2023. So in London, there are estimated to be 217,000 who have some sight issues. Out of that, there's 40,420 who are registered as blind or partially sighted. I did say the RNIB sometimes refer to partially sighted. That's one of the cases.
Hello, I am Lara Vivone, and I was an access support worker for the R&D of To Those Islanders in November 2025. Since seeing Exie at Battersea Arts Centre, I have been putting in extra efforts to learn about access support work. They did really simple things that I really want to incorporate in my work, and just made me even more passionate about access support work. So as soon as I saw that there was a free opportunity to learn how to better support the visually impaired and blind community, I immediately grabbed onto it.
Yusuf addresses the learning group.
Hi, my name is Risha Silvera. I was one of the access support workers for To Those Islanders. My experience learning how to guide with Yusuf and everybody was fantastic. A lot of great questions were asked, which helped just to sort of give a really helpful background on why things are the way they are, some of the issues that blind and visually impaired people were facing. And I think we all left sort of buzzing with lots of new information and lots more confidence in offering help. And that was the biggest thing that Yusuf wanted us to leave with, was that, people can't accept or reject help if you don't offer it. So just being confident to offer the help is something I'm grateful to have taken away from that day and that experience.
So you can see I'm just behind Jack's right shoulder. I'm walking a step behind him, which means I can follow what he's doing. If Jack was walking too quickly...
Something that really surprised me about access support work is that mistakes are going to happen. And that was, I think, very difficult for me to come to terms with, obviously, because I care a lot about the person I was supporting and I wanted to make sure they were okay. So actually, I did not think I would get hired after the workshop, because while we were practicing guiding people, I did guide someone into a pole. Yeah, I was very happy to just be like, cool, this was a great learning experience. I'll never hear from the team again. But according to Jack, I handled the mistake well, so here I am.
Thanks everyone, really nice.
Thank you.
From that, we met Risha and Lara, who actually worked in a really embedded way, actually, with Ellie and Sophia throughout rehearsal. And all of that groundwork, that guiding groundwork, allowed us to rehearse in quite a seamless way together as an ensemble. And that seamless way of rehearsing obviously had an impact on what we were then able to make and present. So in a way, the seed of the physicality of the show was born out of the guiding training and the skills that kind of planted in the ensemble. These bits always make me laugh. On the 27th, I think it was the 27th.
November.
Yes.
24th.
Is it 24th of November?
Yeah.
Okay. On the 31st. I just don't know why it's funny.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It's difficult, man. Wow. On the 24th of November, it was time to embark on the third phase of the second R&D, which was, I call it the actors R&D, but it's when the whole creative team came together to assemble what would then become the sharing.
A flurry of activity. Stella puts up a ladder, hangs gauze. Thin white sheets are stuck over the windows. A corner falls down.
Hi, I'm Sophia Young Santa Maria. I play the role of Evelyn, and I've been part of the project for the second week of R&D. I'd never been part of an R&D before, so having that as a new thing and getting to explore that with such a great team was really, really cool. We had 5 days to put the sharing all together, and it was a mix of read-throughs, different workshopping, lots of group discussions based around the project.
Ellie behind a large frame.
I wouldn't ever walk with my hand out like that, and most blind people don't.
No.
So what the most intuitive thing is for you to, if you're walking with your hand out, you start like here.
So what I really loved about developing the sharing was that we could change things. We were able to change what we were working on, and that wasn't the end of the world. It very much felt like the process was worked on by all of us. Everyone who was there was able to input and come up with ideas as to how the sharing would work.
Yushwan.
The theme of the week was discovery, of which we made tons and tons of. We started off with quite an open and curious approach in the way we warmed up, in the way we staged each scene. And there was a lot of fun and surprise.
So I think that there was some real structure and intention going into the second R&D, but also with enough space to still discover and still create brand new stuff as well, which was, and the space to be surprised as well.
Lara.
The text didn't have priority over props. The performers didn't have priority over set. Like, it all sort of informed each other in a way that I think was really special.
Hello, my name's Joey Holden, and I am a performer and deviser, and was invited in to play on To Those Islanders. Oh, there were so many great scenes, but the scene I really enjoyed, Ava goes on a journey into the lighthouse, and she's drawn there and she doesn't really know why. And when she arrives, it feels very familiar.
Ellie and Jack Byron in rehearsal. Jack holds a large white slab. Ellie's hand is pressed against it. She breathes deeply and pushes him. He floats back into the white gauze.
Yeah, I really love that scene, and I love the lighthouse, which is created from white gauze, so it moves with the wind. It can be many things. It can be solid, and it can be transient, and it can be flimsy all at the same time. She climbs the stairs and is guided by tiny lights.
Out of focus, twinkling lights in the darkness. Jack Byron.
Can they get sucked into, can they land all in Ellie's hand? So can you breathe in and then out and they all land in her hand? And breathing in and breaking out of that image. So
The small lights pulse away on an out-breath.
Was that on the out breath?
It was. I'm not going to lock anything down.
And I love the scale of the big light of the lighthouse and the tiny lights that guide her up the stairs. Yeah, I really love that scene.
Pink light and swaying gauze.
My favourite scene would have to be the taxi scene. But the scene essentially starts with Ava in the taxi. We just have one chair for Ava. We have two characters, which is the taxi driver and Ava's mom also in the taxi.
Could you take us to St. Catherine's?
Does
need any help with the seatbelt in the back? Or?
No, she doesn't. But thanks anyway, and thanks so much for picking us up at this busy time. How long's the drive?
But yeah, it's dialogue in the taxi until the taxi disappears, and the only people left on stage is Ava, and then she puts her arm out and kind of serves her hand in the air, and we have a fan come in to make this wind, and Ava has a fabric wrapped around her hand, and the fabric just flows nicely against the fan.
We're by the sea now. Can you feel it is colder now?
I think it's quite inspiring when you blind people can feel, or sense, I suppose. It's incredible.
She always says, sight is wasted on the sighters.
You're like a Jedi Master.
Not really. The seagulls too.
And it's a peaceful moment, which was my favourite scene, I think, that we've done.
It's literally physics, not magic, no such thing. She's always tried to burst my bubble with her facts.
That is the lighthouse of St. Catherine.
Lighthouse.
Everything goes cold and grey. A sudden bright white light. The scene in the taxi where they first arrived to Jersey, that I remember being particularly challenging to audio describe in the moment. Hello, my name is Megan Smith. I was the audio describer on the project, and I was brought in October for the first R&D. This show differed from my usual process because normally audio describers are brought in at the end, whereas for this one it was really amazing to see how it would develop when audio description was brought in at the start of the process. A torch beam in darkness.
We began the discussion around audio description in quite a classic way.
A spherical living history flickers to life in the centre. There's a glowing projection of a young woman's face, and a family comes to life, circling the glowing lantern at the centre. A mother, father, and daughter, happy, smiling on a seaside holiday. 3 actors happily bumble behind one another in a line. They watch a projection in the middle flicker on the white gauze. They each hold a torch. They smile, dancing as they circle around the projection. Megan describing live. Something shifts in the air. They keep circling, but they brace their bodies against a storm. Bent knees.
But then Josie dropped a bombshell and said, what if the audio description was delivered in certain moments from a first-person perspective?
Can I have some help, please?
I reach out, find my cane, unfold it, and step out into the void.
Megan was playing about with that in a couple of moments in the sharing, in the show.
A piano draped in a white veil seems to glow from within, illuminating a figure sat at the stool. Ellie moves forward with her cane. It gently taps a pillar. I make my way towards the piano. In a warm glow, Sophia, partially covered with white gauze, plays the piano. The sharing audience clap. Jack Byron.
That is another part that we are also developing of the story, is kind of the role that audio description plays, and the role, almost the role of the audio describer in this as well. And that is something that I really enjoyed unlocking and discovering, and starting to filter that into the making process when we were in the room. And there's still loads to do, but I think we're on to something really interesting there.
I'm very, very creative, so I absolutely loved it. It wasn't just narrative, it was building some kind of story around it. And I thought that was so interesting. I'm sad that I wasn't able to actually hear that in its full form. Of course, there were little bits and pieces of the show that needed to be traditionally audio described. I would be super interested to hear what everyone else thought about it.
Developing the piece with the audio description at the heart of it embedded the characters' thoughts and feelings, so it didn't feel like something that was added on at the end for access, but it was something that had been considered at the heart of the piece. The drawbacks were that it doesn't always work in the first person, so I would be keen to work on something that could be consistent for the whole show.
And I think it's something that we're still trying to figure out as to how to properly balance it. I think it was great that it was being involved and included in the process. I think that it should. I think having more disabled people or more blind people involved in the audiences is essential for making sure that it is taken on positively by the community.
I think that there was a consensus that it was interesting in those moments, but it has the potential to be confusing as well. So I think that's still an element that's taking shape, like how we deliver audio description, when we deliver audio description.
Audience.
Who should receive it?
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely stunning. Congratulations on what you've made in such a short amount of time. I guess just to say as well, I was also really interested in the audio description. I'm not visually impaired myself, but I was actually listening in and I found that really interesting, and I loved the first person perspective.
I'd be really interested if there was a blend in that sound design of like what can be a communal experience that is shared in the space, regardless of it's just embedded into the sound design for every audience member, and then certain parts that are specifically through headphones that can be more tailored. I don't know.
It wasn't a linear narrative from, you just showed bits of it, etc. So hard to judge it exactly. I like using both. A certain time you use the first person, make sure it's very clear. And I like it when you do that, because it was as if, as a blind person, almost getting more immersive for me. I'm going to speak for me. Immersive, because like reading a book.
And that is still something that's taking shape. And we're still gathering feedback in terms of how that was received.
Not only did Megan do fantastic work during the show, but she's also audio describing this film. I think the thing that's been core to the heart of this project is holding space and consideration for all of the different ways we perceive the world. For all of the lenses that our world is shaped through.
Close-ups.
For the different ways we experience it.
Of the group's eyes.
I think there's been care and time and attention.
Before Jersey, Jack and I were already talking about what the project would be after the second R&D and the place that we wanted to be. And we really wanted to have something to take away from the second R&D that could get numerous people involved and engaged in the project and that conversation. I pitched this idea called The Lantern Room, this film that could relate to the story of To Those Islanders, whilst kind of being an open door for people to engage with the project. We met with Agneta from ICANN, who are Jersey's kind of leading blind VI charity, about forward planning for the project, about a possible schools collaboration in Jersey for this project, going into 2026 and 2027 planning as well. And I also just hope that the show becomes a really honest and raw exploration about friendship against all the odds, and coming together as community, which I think in this kind of polarised geopolitical time is exactly the spirit and conversations that we need to be having. Yeah.
Corbier Lighthouse and the ocean at sunset gradually fade to black. Credits. To the Islanders. Writer, co-facilitator Jack Norris. Director Natalie Simone. Historical consultant Yusuf Osman. Producer and co-facilitator Jack Byron. Designer Stella Backman. Composer and sound design Dominic Roocroft. Audio describer Megan Smith. Assistant facilitator Camille Petretsky. Ava Ellie Walwork. Evelyn Sophia Young Santa Maria. Walter Patrick Keeley. Danny Joey Holden. Ensemble Yushuang Liu. Outside Eye Josie Dale Jones. Access support workers Jodie Cole, Lara Vivon, Risha Silvera, and show photographer Craig Fuller. In the Lantern Room, filmmaker Noah Cox, audio describer Megan Smith, composer and AD mixer Dominic Roocroft, and with thanks to Philip Cox. Jersey partners Jersey Heritage, ICANN, Jersey War Tunnels, Art House Jersey, and Ports of Jersey, with thanks to Sue Hardy. Thanks to Jersey residents for sharing their stories, and to London partners. Supported using public funding by Arts Council England.